Hello, my name is Liz, and today we're going to go over some basic crochet tips and how to get your project started. So let's begin. I'm using a 100% acrylic yarn. It is a medium 4-weight yarn. And if you're a beginner crocheter, I would recommend using a light colored yarn as it's easier to see your stitches than it is if you use a dark colored yarn. The hook that I'm using is a US H8 5.00 millimeter hook. And let's begin. So the first thing that you have to do is a slip knot. So you can Google or YouTube lots of different ways on how to make a slip knot for crochet. It's really just whatever technique is most comfortable for you. This is the technique that I've always used, so it's just generally the one that I choose. So I take my thumb and my index finger and I drape the tail end of the yarn across. I take it across the working end of the yarn. The working end of your yarn is the yarn that is still attached to the yarn ball. So the tail end goes across, then I bring it over, and the working end of the yarn I pinch between my thumb and my index finger. Then I grab the tail end of the yarn and just pull, and you have a slip knot. So I'll show it to you one more time. Your thumb and your index finger drapes over, and then across. There we go. Then the working end of the yarn you bring up and grab between your thumb and your index finger. Then you pull the tail end of the yarn and you have a slip knot. And then that goes on your hook. Pull on the working end of the yarn to tighten it, pull on the tail end of the yarn to loosen it. You want your loop to be able to slide comfortably on the hook. You don't want super loose knot, and you don't want one that is really tight, because then your stitches will become tight and your projects will end up going into a V, because your stitches will get looser as you continue on with your rows. So you just, kind of want it to move around comfortably on your hook. So when you're beginning to crochet, it's not a bad idea if you just want to make a foundation chain over and over until you get the hang of the tension. Learning the correct tension in your stitches is probably the most difficult skill for crocheting. It took me quite a while to get the hang of it, and even now there's times that I'll begin a project, I'm like, nope, this isn't right, and I have to pull it out and redo it. So just spend some time getting comfortable with the tension in your stitches. So to make a foundation chain, we'll make a foundation chain of 10. You have your yarn on your hook, and there's also lots of different ways to hold on to your yarn. You don't want to pull it taut. You don't want your yarn super tight. That's another thing that you can Google or YouTube. There's lots of different ways that people hold the yarn. This is one of the most common techniques to hold it like this. I've never been able to get the hang of it this way, so I have my own way of holding the yarn, and that's what works for me. So to do your foundation chain, yarn over the hook, and it goes from behind the hook over. So over your hook, and then you pull it through the loop. Yarn over the hook and pull it through the loop. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And that's about the right tension that you want in your foundation chain. You don't want your stitches, super loose. And you don't want to have them pulled super tightly, because then as you go back through, you can kind of see that one there, like how tight it got pulled. It would be super difficult to try to get your hook into that when you go back down your foundation chain to continue making your stitches. So just make a foundation chain for a while until you get the hang of your tension in your stitches. Yarn over from the back and pull through the loop on the hook. Yarn over and pull through. And just do that for a while until you feel comfortable with the tension and how you want to hold the yarn.